So before I start this video on backpacks, I just want to warn you that there is a goat within the vicinity and she's very distracting. And I love her because she's so freaking cute. But if you hear strange little noises, it's my goat. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk packs. So I feel like this was one of the most intimidating pieces of gear to try to figure out when I first started backpacking. Mainly because there are so many different kinds of backpacks out there, and there's so many bells and whistles you can add to your backpacks. There are so many freaking straps. It's like, what are all these straps for and how do you use them? So what I'm doing in this video is I'm going to break down all of the main components that you need to focus on when picking a backpack, and then I'm going to show you how to actually pack your pack, how to distribute weight, and how to make sure that things are balanced so that you're carrying your pack properly. Then will come the end of the video, which I think is going to be the best part of the video because it's going to be gear review, and it's not just going to be my gear review. Anyway, what it all came down to is basically the idea that most of us thru hikers have only used one or two packs. So for me to say, hey, this is the one pack I used and that's my gear review, I feel like that's just kind of lame. So basically what I did is I called up a whole bunch of my hiker trash buddies and I was like, hey friend, and they were like, hey friend, and I was like, can you do me a favor, friend? And some of them were like, oh, yeah, I suppose. So at the end of this video, I have included not just my own review, but the review of a whole bunch of my fellow hikers and the packs that they used on their hikes, and basically just the bigger bullet points of what they either loved or hated about their packs. So let's dive right in. One of the first things you want to look at when you pick a backpack is if you're going to have an internal or an external frame. An external frame is more old school, like this. Looks pretty badass. It's what my grandpa used. But the internal frames is what most hikers use these days. They're a lot more lightweight. You can, however, attach a lot more to those external frames. But there is one of the first steps of deciding what kind of pack you want is whether it's going to be internal framed or external framed. And a lot of the internal framed backpacks, you can actually pull out the ribs that support the pack. And if it's a super, super ultralight pack, it may not have any kind of frame whatsoever. So again, it's going to be what works best for you. The bigger frames, though, are for the bigger loads. So just keep that in mind. Then you have the aspect of waterproofing. Now, I like dry bag type packs, which basically just means you don't need a cover for it. So if your bag is water resistant or not waterproof, you're going to need a backpack cover, which basically to me looks like a giant shower cap or one of those things you put over your tire. But I don't like the idea of those, mainly because, yeah, they ride on the backside of your pack. So then when it starts raining, you have to stop, pull it off, put it on, and if you have anything dangling on the outside of your pack, you got to make sure it's not going to poke a hole in it, especially like an ice axe and stuff. So you got to have like covers for your ice axe and all this stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It was just more than I wanted to deal with. So I like the dry sack packs the most, but something you definitely are going to want to make sure you have if your pack isn't waterproof is a pack cover. They tend to look like this. Yeah, okay, you get it. Super. All right, so one of the biggest things to decide is how big of a pack you're going to carry. So there are a lot of different size packs, and they're usually based on liters. On average, on these thru hikes, I usually saw hikers carrying packs between 30 liters, those were usually the super ultralighters, and then 65 liters being like kind of like overkill. So you need to decide where you want to range on that scale and how much gear you're going to carry. Now when you pick a bag, no matter how many liters it is, some bags will carry a lot more size-wise than they actually can maintain weight-wise. So you want to make sure you're not ruining your bag by overloading it, because some of these packs are not meant to carry the amount of weight that they can actually fit, especially the ultralight bags. They tear apart really easy if you overload them and start to break down pretty fast if you're putting too much weight in them. All right, last but not least, now that you have an idea of what pack you want to make sure that pack's going to fit you. Now, pack sizes are based on torso length. So if you're ordering online and you need to figure out the length of your torso, most packs are based off of finding the top of your hips with your hands, and you find on your back the spot between your two thumbs once your hands are rested on your hips. So, you know, about here. And then the second point is your C7 vertebrae at the top. So between those 2 points is where you're going to want to measure to figure out what the length of your torso is. And then you just look online for that in inches. There you go. Bada bing, bada boom. You have a pack that will fit you like a glove. All right, the moment you have all maybe been waiting for, let's talk straps. There are so many straps on these bad boys that it's just kind of insane. It took me a hot minute to learn these and how to properly put your pack on and everything so that everything fits the way it's supposed to. First of all, this thing right here is called a hull loop. And what you use this for, or are supposed to use this for, is to assist you in putting on your pack. Instead of like using the strap and swinging it up around, I'll admit I'm completely guilty of doing that, and I never use this to do that, but that's what this is there for mostly, or hanging it in a shelter so the mice can't get in your pack, or in a tree when you're setting up camp if it's rainy and muddy. So it does have a lot of other useful uses. Okay, so this pack, my new pack, does not have that haul strap, which is why I was showing it to you with my old pack first. But this one does have a lot more bells and whistles on it than my older pack, so I'm going to show you it first, how to adjust it and put it on, and then I'll show you my older packs and some of the straps it has that this pack doesn't have. Alright, once you have your bag properly picked up and placed on your back, you're going to want to start clicking and connecting and adjusting. So the first strap, there is a sequence here of how you're supposed to actually adjust and fit your pack each time. And you always want to start with your hip belt. Now I feel like this is the most important strap when you're a thru hiker, because this strap is supposed to hold 80% of the weight of your pack. So you really want to make sure that this strap is properly placed on you and comfortable, because if it's not, you're going to have really beautiful bruised hips and it's painful. So you're going to snap that bad boy. This pack happens to adjust in, which is kind of cool, and it has a 4-way adjustment. So you want the hip strap to be centered on your hip bone, and you're going to probably end up going back and adjusting this just a tad bit more once you've done the other ones. But the next strap you're going to go to is your shoulder strap, which is this guy right here on either side. Now this strap is made to get rid of the gap between your back and the pack. If you pull this just a little tighter, you see it brings the pack up flush with my back. If you pull it too tight, what's going to happen is your hip belt's going to come up, and then you're going to want to have to loosen that back up. If that happens too much, it might mean your pack's not fitted properly. But generally speaking, if you pull this too tight, your hip belt will start to come up. No bueno. Loosen that bad boy up. Get that back down on your hips. Just want to get rid of that gap there. You can also get hot spots right here if these straps are too tight, and that's kind of a warning sign that you need to loosen them. Alright, the next strap that you're going to want to adjust is called a lift loader strap. That's this bad boy up here on either side. Now, I had never experienced these before, and once I discovered that they actually take weight off your shoulders, I was like, I must have this. Why? Well, for me in particularly, I have no clavicle bone on this side. I was in a bad car accident. They couldn't repair it, so they just cut it out. So the less weight I can have on this shoulder, the better. So I can use this to take extra weight off my shoulders. And what this does, if you have high weight in your pack to mid-weight, it'll actually shift it more down to your hips where it's supposed to be by just simply pulling this a little taut. What you want it to be is at a 45-degree angle here. You always want this little buckle to sit basically at the top of your shoulder. And if you have it too tight, you'll know, because your pack should never curl forward. The frame of your pack should always stay straight. And yeah, it should look a little something like that. So the next strap that you adjust is your chest or sternum strap, this guy right here. Now I never really used this strap much on the AT or the PCT. I always felt like it kind of restricted my breathing or was choking me. And I later discovered that there is a reason for that, because my previous packs had a certain shaped shoulder strap. So there are different shaped shoulder straps. And this is going to be a tongue twister, so hopefully I can get through this. There are straight strap shoulder straps, there are J-strap shoulder straps, and there are S-shaped shoulder straps. The S-shaped shoulder straps are more for busty women. Oh, I had no idea. So if you look at my previous pack, they're pretty fairly straight straps. There is no curve to them. Where my new strap, it is very curvy. It goes whoop. Amazing. Wow, mind blown, learning new things. So my shoulder straps on my Hyperlite bags did not help me, even though all of these sternum straps tend to be adjustable up and down, so you can move them higher or lower so you won't feel like you're being choked. But they really have to be able to function with your shoulder straps to be comfortable and to function properly. Now, this isn't supposed to take a lot of weight on, and it's not supposed to be super tight. All this strap's supposed to do is kind of keep everything in place. So if you tighten this too much, you'll tend to dimple on the sides here. You'll get hot spots. Your straps can rub on your neck. So really all this strap is supposed to do is to kind of hold your shoulder straps in place so things are bouncing around less and not loosening as much as you hike. It's just one extra keep it there strap. Right, there is one final strap on this pack that a lot of packs don't have, called a compression strap, which is right here in the back. And what this basically does is it pulls in any extra space between your lower back and the pack. And once you have that guy cinched up, he's right here, you should be ready to roll. You should be all comfy and cozy in your pack. But there are a lot more straps here to talk about, folks. I'm going to talk about a couple other essential straps, and then I'm going to talk about a couple extra luxury straps. So I'm going to move over to one of my other packs now to talk about another essential strap that is really helpful called a Y strap. So Y straps are generally over the top of your pack, and they are great for holding bear cans, as you can see here. I actually used my chest strap as an extender. You can see it's right here. The Hyperlite chest strap has an emergency whistle on it. I never actually used these till the other night. Yeah, not so great. Anyway, a Y strap is usually at the top of your bag. It helps secure things like your bear canister. Some people use it to secure their sleep mats. I did it on the PCT, and a raincoat. You can use all kinds of things, but it just secures things to the top of your pack. Hyperlite advertises it as an extra way to hold a bear can, which is fantastic because this bad boy was not going to fit in my bag when I was going through the Sierras. All right, let's talk about another helpful strap. So on my Hyperlite bag, down near the bottom, there is this little guy right here. Now those straps are for your ice axe, and how these work, I bet you have all wondered. You basically slide your ice axe down so that it's dangling, and then you fold it back up, and somewhere, some way, you attach it near the top, and there you go. Your ice axe can't fall down, and that's how that attaches that bad boy. Now obviously I can't cover all of the straps on all of the packs, but I can show you what I have on mine and maybe help you find out what some of these extra straps do. So I'm going to go back to my new pack, and as you can see on either side there are these crazy little dangly things here, and I'm sure us through hikers can find all kinds of things to do with these extra straps and things to attach to them, but these are literally what they look like. They are thumb straps. So you can hike and be comfortable. I don't know, maybe if you're hitchhiking you can use them to hitchhike. I was told they're called thumb straps, and I'm assuming that they're used for your thumbs. I could be wrong. But these are new to me. I don't know if I'm going to keep these or if I'll actually use them. I use trek poles, so I don't see this being handy, but who knows. The other thing that's new to me are these little elastic straps on here. These are usually for water bottles. You put the top of your water bottle up in here and the bottom down in here, and bada bing bada boom, you're ready to roll with some water. But there are all kinds of loops on these straps generally, and you can attach all kinds of pockets and compartments for your compartments, and yeah, you name it. So there are lots of things you can also buy to just add on to the other parts of your pack. For instance, my new pack has straps down here at the bottom. And I'm pretty stoked about that because my Hyperlite bag did not have any bottom straps. Let me just show you these straps a little closer. At the bottom, there are these looped straps here. Yeah. Now generally on this pack that's used to connect your raft down there, but I'm going to be using it for my tent. I did go ahead and buy a different bag for my tent that zips, because people who attach their tents to the bottom of their packs like this with the original bag that the tent usually comes in, it's a cinched bag with a hole at one end. I cannot tell you how many tent poles I have found down the trail because people hike like this and their tent poles just slowly slid out. All my tent gear goes into the top and then it zips shut so nothing can slide out while I'm hiking. But I think it's going to be cool to be able to keep my tent on the outside, because when it's wet, that's the last thing you want to put in your bag, and it doesn't need to be in there, so why not? Okay, here's my quick gear review on the packs that I've used. So on the AT and the PCT, I used the Hyperlite Wind Rider 2400. It's a 40-liter pack. It's a Dyneema pack, which means it's supposed to be waterproof. And I used the same pack both years. The only differences of the two packs were a few changes that the company made due to requests of customers, which consisted of the texture being taken off on the inside of these shoulder straps, which I must say is a huge deal. If you ever have skin to strap contact, if you are a guy and you like to hike without a shirt, or even a girl who hikes without a shirt, or tank tops like me, that can really be like a cheese grater if there's any kind of texture on your straps, like those big holes that are probably made for cushion or ventilation. They can actually chew you up if they're on your skin. So something to be mindful of when you're looking at straps. They took off the little tiny grade that was on the original first one. It didn't really bother me though on that pack. It was fine enough that it didn't have any effect on me personally, but I watched Spider suffer with his pack. He literally had scars left over by the end of it because of the texture on the inside of his straps. So something there to think about. One other feature that they changed between 2018 and 2019 is they made the hip pockets just a little bit bigger. So last year on the PCT, my phone actually fit in here, whereas on the AT, I couldn't fit my phone in the hip pocket. Another difference I had was the color. So I used the white one on the AT, which is actually lighter, and the black one is a little bit heavier, but not by much, just a few ounces, so it wasn't anything to make or break my decision on using it. They also apparently made the thickness of the straps a little bit thicker, I believe. I didn't really notice much of a difference. Overall, I love this pack, or I wouldn't have used it 2 years in a row. I prefer the mesh pockets over solid pockets, mainly because I can see what I have in them. If some debris falls in there and it's not big, it might just fall right through. And if I'm trying to dry stuff out, like I tend to keep my water shoes on the outside, they have a better chance of continuing to dry, I feel like, if they're not within an enclosed pocket. But then again, I've never used the enclosed pockets, and they're probably pretty handy for not losing things, because you can tend to get holes and snag this mesh material pretty easy on things, which I just mended it, and they held up for one through hike at least. As far as the Dyneema goes and the waterproofing, I would say these guys held up for maybe 3/4 of the hike, and then they start to break down, and you have to reinforce your waterproof system by, well, our hack as through hikers is using a garbage bag or a contractor bag. Contractor bags are just a heavier garbage bag that's used for like lawn materials, and they are a little bit heavier than a garbage bag, but they last longer. So pick and choose your battle. When I break down my pack here and open it up and show you how I packed it while on the PCT, I do have a garbage bag in there, because near the end of both of these hikes, it was essential to keeping my stuff dry, and it was the option that I had, because I wasn't going with one of those covers. So before I show you how I packed my bag, I'm going to talk about my new pack. So for this season, I picked up this ginormous bag. This is a ULA Epic bag. It's a dry bag. It's made for rafting generally, but they say it's also a multi-adventure bag, so you can use it for different things. What I really liked about this pack is that this bag is actually removable, and you can change the liter size. So right now there's a 65-liter bag. I just got the biggest one it came with, and I can interchange it with smaller ones if I want to. So it's basically just a pocket that holds the bag, and you just pull the bag out, and it's just a hollow shell or sleeve, if you will. These pockets you can add or keep. That has one solid mesh pocket on the front that stays with the bag at all times, and then there's also those base straps I showed you earlier, which the Hyperlight bag did not have, and I think that's going to be really handy for keeping my tent out of my bag. I just thought it made more sense to keep my tent out of my bag. So anyway, those are some of the features of this bag. It's a dry bag. If I really wanted to, I could float across the river with a bunch of air in this thing, and my stuff will all stay dry. Some of the other features this has is an adjustable hip strap, so I can move this up and down to resize it a little bit if I need to. I think I have it just a little bit small at the moment, but still toying with it and getting to know it. It also comes with a camel sack bag and this other little zip bag. I'll probably remove both of these. I don't know very many through hikers that actually use the camel sacks or the bags within the packs. It's just inconvenient. You're refilling your water so often. It's just easier to have your water on the outside. This has some really nice big hip belt pockets, and a lot more padding than I'm used to on the hip pockets or on the hip belt, so I'm pretty excited about that. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see how this bad boy treats me. I'm thinking in Hawaii with the torrential downpours, it'll be fantastic. I don't see why it wouldn't work in the desert as well. And if I can make it last long enough, the CGT would be fantastic. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to show you guys before we jump into reviews from a whole bunch of my friends, I got friends, is how I packed my pack and unpacked my pack. Okay, as a through hiker, different sections, you have different gear with you. So this was how I ended my hike. I wasn't using my bear canister at that point in time, but when I did have a bear canister, my setup was a little bit different. So different areas, different sections, when you're carrying different gear. Of course, your arrangement can change a little. But the general rule of thumb when you're packing your pack is you want to make sure that everything ends up pretty balanced in the pack, so you don't have one heavy side and one lighter side. So whenever you pack your pack, they say, they being the experts, you're supposed to have the heaviest items in the center of your pack and the lighter to mid-weight things at the bottom, and then the rest of the lighter to mid-weight things at the top. So basically the majority of the weight's supposed to be in the center of your bag, and then the softer mid-weight things are the ones that you really kind of want to shoot for the bottom, because they do end up hitting your lumbar and the back. So a lot of people tend to put their sleeping bag at the very bottom of their pack. I didn't like doing that, mainly because with a waterproof bag, once this thing started to leak a little bit, it actually would hold water, and the last thing I want my sleeping bag to be sitting in is water. Usually I would put my clothes first and then my sleeping bag, but I never usually would put my sleeping bag first into my pack. So moving on to how this is packed inside. So just a brief overview. So when you get to camp at night, you're going to want to be able to pull things out of your pack in sequence of how you're going to use them. Now, number one, I always had my sleep pad on top because I'd use it for lunch breaks to sit on, and my raincoat. So if I needed it started raining, they're both there accessible. I won't get into the outside stuff just yet. We're going to dive right into the top. So those are the things that I usually have surfacing the top of my bag. Now when I open my bag, the first thing I want to have available to me is my tent, because that's what I'm going to first set up when I get to camp. So I pull out my tent, and I would always have it on the very top, and then my footprint. So I used to have a Hyperlite footprint, and it was my second most favorite piece of gear, and it blew away. It was so sad. That thing was awesome. It was so lightweight, durable. Of all the Hyperlite gear I owned, it was my absolute favorite, even for 150 bucks for a little thin piece of tarp. It was one of my favorite pieces of gear. So eventually I hope to get that again, but I had to pick up a normal tarp for the rest of my thru hike on the PCT, unfortunately. So I'm going to show you inside my bag now. First thing I pulled out was my tent, second thing was my footprint, and then you would see the top of the garbage bag that I'm actually using. That way, if in the morning, if this had any kind of condensation or rain on it, I'm assuring that that rain and that condensation, if I haven't got to dry this out or it's continuing to rain, it's not going to get anything else of mine wet. Now right underneath this though, inside my garbage bag, I do have my puffy. So if it gets really freaking cold and I don't want to have to pull everything out to get to it, especially if it's raining, I'm going to be able to get this out, put it under my shell real quick, and be ready to go and be nice and warm. So the next thing I have is my air mattress. Now this air mattress is my #1 favorite piece of gear. I have had this same air mattress through my entire AT and my entire PCT hike. Not one patch on this bad boy, and I can't say that I'm really gentle with my gear, but I love this thing. I'm a side sleeper. I'm going to use it till it won't let me use it anymore. I'll get into that more in my sleep setup gear review, but the next thing I would have in here is my air mattress. So I have my tent set up. I blow up my air mattress, throw that in there. The next thing I have is my food bag, because it's the most heavy, with my pot, my butane and all that in there, with my toiletries on this next level. And then below that is my sleeping bag. So then I'll pull that guy out, throw it inside my tent. And then last but not least, in a nice little compression sack, I have all the clothes that I would be needing on my entire hike in this one little nugget. And I use this Kelty bag, this Kelty compression sack, on my entire AT and my entire PCT hike as well. And I'm going to use it on my CDT hike and my other ones as well. So I have a couple pieces of gear that I just want to see how long they're going to last. Probably not the lightest you can get, but like I said, I'm not one of those ultra glamour type people. So that's it. That's how the inside of my bag goes. And then in the morning, when I'm breaking down camp, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change, throw all my leftover clothes back into my bag, compress it down, stuff my sleeping bag back into its little sleeve here. So yeah, put her all back together, roll her up. This is what a dry sack style backpack looks like. It's just basically one big tube. It doesn't have a whole lot of bells and whistles, not a ton of pockets inside, no compartments for your compartments. This one came with a lot of extra, but I'll probably be taking all of this off in these bags and just going with the sack, the mesh pocket in the front, and the frame. And this is basically just one big open bag, and that's how I like it. Simple. My buddy Deluxe used the ULA Catalyst pack. He's hiked over 12,000 miles with this pack and model, and he absolutely loves it. He said there were lots of size options that helped fit his tall frame. There was incredible balance of weight and durability, and he really liked the features. He said he's tried other lighter packs, but they all get annoyingly uncomfortable if he needed to carry more than 10 days of food or 12 liters of water. But the Catalyst can do both at once, and he absolutely loved that about it. Next up is my girl Bambi. She used the Z-Packs Arc Haul 62-liter bag. This woman has hiked all over the U.S., and this was her first experience with an ultralight bag, and she came out saying she wasn't a really big fan. She said there were some pros, however. It held up great in the rain, and it fit a bear can really well. She also managed to max it out at 41 pounds through the Sierras, and it held fine. The cons, it bruised her hips pretty bad. The eye sac loops were flimsy and stretched out, and the elastic on the hip pockets broke around 1,500 miles. She had them replaced at trail days, and after another 1,500 miles, they broke again. Next, we have Dumbo. He also used the Z-Packs Arc Haul 62-liter bag, and he said this is the most comfortable pack he owns out of 4 if carrying under 30 pounds. He doesn't recommend this pack if you plan on carrying more than that because it becomes very uncomfortable. He said his favorite feature, however, of this pack was the flexed arched frame. It offered awesome ventilation, and he also liked how accessible the water bottles were while in the side pockets. Some of the cons, he did break a buckle, but it was replaced by warranty, and he didn't care for the lack of compartments, which is fixable with the purchase of add-ons. Next up, we have Second Chance. Now, this man tried out 3 different packs. He tried the Granite Gear Crown 2, the REI Flash 55, but ultimately landed on the Osprey XO 58 as his favorite. The best feature, he said, was the overall comfort. He quoted, "It's built to last, it's light, and it looks sweet. What more could you ask for?" The only cons he could come up with were that the zipper would occasionally catch on the outer flap, and that there were no hip pockets. Next up, we have Horse. Horse used the Granite Gear Blaze 60-liter pack, and he loves this thing. He actually picked his first one up secondhand and used it throughout the AT, the TA, and most of the PCT until trail days, where he replaced it with the exact same pack. He quoted, "It probably would have lasted longer if I were a little more gentle with my gear." He also mentioned durability to weight ratio is not quite ultralight, but the added durability did prove to be totally worth it. And all in all, there isn't one thing he'd change about this pack, so we'll probably see him using it on the CDT. Snazzy. As a seasoned hiker, he owns quite a few Osprey packs, but the Osprey Levity 45 is by far his favorite. Being one of their first ultralight packs, he was pretty stoked to have the functionality of his previous packs with a reduced weight. But he also found some other cool features about this pack. The water resistantness of this pack was off the charts. He also really liked the ventilated support system on the back. The only thing he had really go wrong with this pack was he did get one dramatic tear mid-hike, but Osprey, being the company that they are, replaced the pack for free with their lifetime guarantee. Limbo's a guy who hikes all over the world for that perfect picture. His pack of choice, the ULA Catalyst. After smashing the PCT this last summer with it, he has moved on to knocking out the Adirondack 46ers. Now 35 deep, he says this pack has been great. Super durable and lightweight. He loves how it's able to adapt to his fluctuating gear weights, which have been anywhere between 15 and 65 pounds. He says this is all owed to an aluminum rod, which helps support and manage high weights. Josh and Captain Murdoch. After nearly 14 years of rucking with the same Osprey pack, it finally gave out. Osprey, with their lifetime guarantee, replaced that pack with their Zenith 75-liter bag. Josh says this bag was heavy at 6 pounds 6 ounces, but he loves its capacity, and as a hiker caring for a dog, it was totally necessary. He went on to mention that he's maxed this bag out at nearly 75 pounds. One of his favorite features was how the brain could transition to a sweet day pack, which he often used to carry Murdoch when he needed a little lift. Good old Ranger Rick. He says he's old school and he owns a lot of different packs, and he's not focused on being ultralight. He's more interested in carrying all the supplies needed to assure not only his safety, but overall comfort. His last 2 packs were the Osprey Atmos 65-liter pack and the Hyperlight Southwest 4400. He says we should each be able to carry at least 30% of our total body weight, which is why with the Atmos, he loved its ability to carry 60 pounds. He also appreciated its unlimited adjustability, and he said it's his go-to for those long-distance carries. The only cons with this pack, he wished the bottom compartment was a little bit taller, and he hated that it needed one of those annoying rain covers. With the Hyperlight, he said this thing had unlimited space. It's bomb-proof yet light, and he absolutely loved the Y-strap at the top for the bear can. It worked efficiently. The cons with this pack, he said the price was unnecessarily expensive, and the sternum strap did not conform snugly. He also wished this pack came with lift loaders. IBTAT, aka I've Been to a Town, used the Hyperlight Windrider 3400 pack. Now he used this pack not only on the AT but also on the PCT, and he said that the upgrades made to the pack by the company between the 2 years were much needed. He said it's a very comfortable carry with a consistent 30 to 35 pounds of weight, but did notice strain on his shoulders during some longer carries with more weight. He pointed out that the ice-axe loop worked more than sufficiently with a fully loaded front mesh pocket and that the pack was damn near waterproof. He also appreciated the Y strap and mentioned that the only damage he got to the pack was to tears in the front mesh pockets, which is why this sunshine will be switching to the Hyperlight Junction pack next season. He quotes, "Mainly so my beloved Nutella has zero chance of slipping through a rip." The only cons, he said, or things he would change about this pack would probably be adding some extra padding and 4-way adjustable hip straps. Next up, Daddy Shakira. Now he owns 4 different Osprey packs, but the Osprey Exos 58-liter pack is his absolute favorite. He appreciates how much room is in this pack and the different ways you can adjust the pack to find absolute comfort while wearing it. He said the weight to durability of the pack and the ergonomics were very good to him. He also appreciates how Osprey stands behind their products, so he's very loyal to this company. He said some of the cons of this pack, however, were changes that were made between 2017 and 2018, eliminating storage areas on the hip belt. All in all, though, he absolutely loved this pack. Then there's Han Solo. This woman is amazing. She used the same Six Moons Design Fusion 50-liter pack for over 3 years as she hiked throughout the Himalayas, the Cascades, and the Everest region. And she says she's not easy on her gear either. She loved how this pack could double as an international traveling pack. Its versatility really made up for it not being completely ultralight. The design, she said, is simple and can manage a lot of extra weight and gear, and she was a huge fan of the extra big hip pockets and would buy this pack again in a heartbeat. The only cons she could come up with were the pockets on the shoulder straps were set just a little bit too high, and she wished that she could cinch up the side pockets just a tad more. Flower Boy. Now he started his first long distance trail using the Osprey Ether 70-liter pack and came to discover that this pack was a little overkill for a long trail. He said his pack started out weighing around 46 pounds, but by the time he hit Maine, he had it down to 26 pounds. He is going to switch packs this season as he goes on to hike the PCT, but he hasn't decided yet which pack he's going to go to. He said some of the features he did like about this pack was the ventilated system between your back and the pack that allowed for air to flow between. He also said that he did have some clips fail him on this pack, so he was a little disappointed with that. Last but not least, we have Mr. Me Too. Now, he used the Hyperlight Southwest 60-liter pack, and he says he's one of those weirdos who ended with a heavier base weight than he started with. And although this pack was light, unfussy, and virtually indestructible, throughout the course of his hike, he realized ultralight backpacking just didn't fit his hiking style. He said he likes long stretches in the woods and minimal town stops that kept his pack constantly over 30 pounds. But he did want to add, not to let anyone convince you that you can't get one of these hikes done without having the lightest, most expensive modern gear.